So, hi everybody, bit different today. You have a reference material. We don't normally do that, but following on from last week, if you weren't here, we did a pair of eyes and everyone was keen to learn how to do the rest of the face, which is hard in half an hour. So I came up with a plan, which is if we did half the face and I put the picture onto the CBC Facebook page, then you can do the other half at home or homework or in another lunch break this week. But if I can show you half, and then it would be really good to see if you could actually do it on the other half. And please do share your pictures. I know it's scary because no one's shared any pictures on there yet, but it would be really lovely to see. Right, so my bracelet's going to be annoying. Okay, we're going to start with, we're going to go through some proportions. So in the middle of the page, so this is my full page, we're going to do a line across, nice and light where you are. And then we are going to go into all of these sections. So roughly about that much. Then we're going to use our pencil and thumb to make that measurement. And we're going to come up. So that in effect, I put numbers on because I thought it might be easier. So that's 4, that's 3, that's 2, that's 1. You don't need to do the writing. So let me check you understood that. So edge of my pencil, I moved my thumb, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And then I'm hoping I'm going to do mine a bit darker so you can see. And then I'm going to come down. I'm going to use my other finger. You can do it a different way where the pencil just makes mark, but it's a bit awkward at this angle. So that would be number 5, number 6, number 7. Okay, so 5, 6, 7. Okay, we'll just give you a second, have some tea. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now number 4, which is our middle line, is our bottom of our eye. And we talked about this last week, that the eyes are in the middle of the head. What we could do if you want, probably a good idea, is give ourselves a straight line down the middle of the page, and that's going to be your halfway mark, so that when you come to do the rest of the picture, you're going to do it on that side and you can rub that line out. Let's get going. So we're going on line 4. We're going to come in and we are very loosely going to put a shape in. We never do detail till we get the angle. So there's our number 3. And we're going to come down a little bit for her eyebrow. And then I'm looking at this big shape. So there's a gap from here to here. Comes up. If I actually show you on here, that way, down and down. That way. So it's actually lines that make it up. We're just going to do one thing. We want to make sure that we don't come off the page. So we need to work out a few little bits. Now if I take that measurement and I come over, the edge of her eye is the same measurement. So I'm going to take that measurement and come over from that center line and do an angle, just so we know that that is there. You could do another one of those measurements to there, which is, hang on, make sure you do it properly, comes there. So that comes into her hair, so we know her hair's gonna come off the page, but it's fine. It's about getting this face in. So what that helps with is where we're coming to this point. So we know that the eye is going to be in here, and that this eyebrow comes round and then down, but past the edge of this eye. Now what we do, if I draw on here, is we actually do the eye socket. Can you see all this shadow on here? This shows us where that eye socket is. So it comes down to the number 4, comes down a bit, and it comes that way and comes back up to meet there. So that's actually the socket. Whilst we won't be putting in, we won't be leaving those lines in, it's really good to get this kind of structure in first, especially when you come to doing pictures live, drawing from life. Okay, so that's the corner of our eye, that's the edge, and we have a shape that looks like the socket, hopefully. Now we're coming over a little bit here. Now let me show you. So what we do is look at pivot points here. So where the corner of her eye is, so this about here, there is a point. So let me just, I'm confusing myself with all these lines. So that was the line that was in the hair. This is the line here. So where this corner, there's a pivot point. So this starts going back that way, and then it starts coming down the side of the cheek that way. Can you see that angle? Ever so slightly. And that actually, there's another pivot point at number 5. So that comes down to here. It actually, she's got a lovely jaw that then comes out. This is your number 6 here. So it's going to curve and go down in between 6 or 7 down here somewhere. So really lightly, because we're not 100% sure till we get all the others in, but we know that we're roughly in the right place, shape for the face. Now we're going to do the same up here. So this was number 3, which is here. And then number 2 is kind of the top of the face and the edge of the hairline. So if I go like this, we are that way, that way, that way, that way, that way. So often things are not a curve, they are angular shapes that actually make a curve. Okay, now we're just going to put in up here, we've got a bit of a parting. Number 1 actually comes off the paper, so we know that it's a bit lower than that, and the hair is going to come kind of a little bit parallel here. I think that goes up higher on the other side. It's going to come off the paper, but that's fine, that's not what we're doing it. Where is this neck? So neck is at number 6, and there is a slight angle. Can you see? It's tapering in. We're going to look at where this point is in terms of our eye. So it's between our eyes, so that's about right. So we're double checking, and then we're coming slightly down at an angle there. So the nose comes from below that. Now the nose, everyone always draws outlines. The nose actually doesn't have an outline, but we are going to do a bit of an outline so we know where we're going. And we need to find our finishing point. So our finishing point we haven't got yet, so we're going to come back. So we know the nose is there, but we haven't got that point in yet. Now we need to look where the lips are. So the lips are in between here and here. That looks about halfway to me. So halfway between here and here, roughly there tells us our top lip is going to come there, and this is our bottom lip, and then our chin. I'm going to take out number 2, so it's not 3, sorry. So we don't need that in. Now, we also look at our finishing line, which we don't know where that is till we get that in. So now what we're going to do is go and do the eye, because when we do faces, whether we're doing them from life or from a picture, we know where those points are in relation to the eye. So let's have a look. We've got this eyebrow. So there's shading here. So this is, if you could use a paper stump or your finger. So we've got a shadow there. The eyebrow starts here. And we're looking at kind of the thickness of it. And it gets thinner as we get. I'm just going to shade it in to be quick, but you would go in the direction of the hairs, leaving my pencil on. Okay, then we've got a shadow that comes down there. We have a highlight above the eye here. The eye is on this line, so I'm working out we had to have a gap here, which is that light shape. We then have the shadow. We then have a highlight. See that white shape there? Then we have the corner of the eye. So we're using the information on the picture to tell us where that starting point is. Now, this bit was the edge. So this was shadowed here. And we come in a little bit, and her eyes are quite straightforward. Sometimes you get all different kinds of shapes. And because she's smiling, they're not as wide open. They come down, and then there's a slight kink at that end. So I'm feeling my way around that shape. The under eyelid is light, isn't it? And that comes underneath and joins up here. And then it's the shadow from the eyelashes under here that make it. There's a bit of a shadow there. Now when we're doing the pupil, what we're looking for is there's a bit of a dark shadow there. We're just going to put that in. We're looking for this triangle shape. So we're looking at the negative space. And because of the eyelids, we can't see the amount of people I'd see draw a whole circle. We can't see a whole circle. We've got an angled line to here. That dark will make the edge of the lower lid. Then I'm looking at that triangle, guesstimating where that is. And then we have a highlight kind of there. So then we have the upper lid, or is it the eyelid? I don't know. I'm so not technical. There. Now this is shadowed there. Can you see the difference in this to this? So you could do a little bit of zigzaggy and then take out that highlight with your pencil. And while we're there, if you're happy with the shape of your iris, let's colour that in. Okay, darker, it's slightly darker here, isn't it? It's actually slightly lighter around there, but we won't worry about that. And then we come to the corner and then come round, and then this is kind of shaded, but not like that. And you could take out with your rubber or kind of prep mark, and then you can do the shading bit for the bottom underneath. Okay, it doesn't look exactly like it because we need to put eyelashes, shading and things in, but let's keep going. Now let's come to the nose. We now know if we draw a line from the corner, so if I was drawing from somebody from life, I'm still thinking about this. So from that corner I draw a straight down. That's telling me that we've got that line and that line, so I don't need to guess. We've got the edge of the nose comes like that, and this is generally one of the only bits. If you look, this is all just kind of shadow. There's always a little bit of a mark here. There's shadow underneath where the light isn't getting to it, and then you have the nostril, which is a straight across line there and a little line down, so depending upon what angle is how much you'll see it. And then that's the highlight, this is the shadow, so there's always a cup under the nose of shadow. I'm just going to rub out the line where the nose is so you can see a bit more. So we've got this, there is shadow that comes underneath here, so not as dark as that bit. It's going to come around, and then this is going to be all shadowed, you'll see, and then this is the highlight. If that makes sense. Now, can you see this shape of shadow? But it has no hard edge. It's all soft and blended on this particular picture. So depending upon what light, if you've got a hard, harsh light, so I am really softly putting in this tone. So that light bit won't look light until we get this dark bit round. I'm just leaving my pencil on the side. I'm letting my pencil do the work. We're going to come in. That's going to be kind of the bag in our eye. And this comes down. That's our 3. And the cheekbone, the shadow basically of the cheekbone comes down here. It's coming up. So we look at it in terms of, we're going to just come up here. Am I going too fast? So that line, I want you to know it's there, but it's going to ruin our shading as well. So I'm looking at where this is coming. And always, in painting it's called a half tone, but there's always this shadow at the side of the face where it's kind of curving round. So I still want to go on the side because I'll get less marks. So we're coming to this point. Can you see it then changes direction? So that's halfway between there, so we know we're coming to about here. And then within this, it's darker, getting lighter, getting lighter, getting lighter to our highlight, but it's not as light. It's still got colour on it, still got shade on it, but not as much. So this, if I squint my eyes, I'm looking from here to here to see kind of how dark we go. And then this will be even lighter. So sometimes in this instance, I might get that and this shade in here, with this being the lightest bit, and then add some dark on because it's easier that way. Okay, let's get the, I'm just going to, sometimes you have to put things back in where you've rubbed them out. Now, when we look at the lip, this is really important, and it does differ on every person, but can you see there's a light shape here, and we come to here. Now, where is this corner of the mouth? So if you have your eye in the right place, or I've taken a bit to highlight. So if I draw a line down here, this will be the corner of my mouth, and then the shadow comes over from that side. Yeah, this might need to come lower. Let's double check. That was our lip. This is going to come higher, sorry. Let's get the mouth in. So about, so I'm going to draw a line. It's not halfway, it's a little bit higher, so she has a bigger bottom lip. We're going to come across, and we always do this middle line. So if you spend some time looking at people, what defines them mostly is this center line, and that's always the darkest bit. And depending upon, she's smiling, so it's coming up, and then it's darker on that edge. Now the bottom lip is always defined by the shadow underneath, so I always get the shape of the shadow underneath, because there's generally a highlight on it. And then the top lip, we're just going to get that shadow in, because that shadow then arches over, so you know the form of the top lip, this bit above, and then she's got like a little dimply bit, and we're going to smudge that in. So what we're trying to create, if you squint your eyes, is actually this lighter bit. See, there's a gap. It's still actually shaded. It's not bright, but it's kind of lighter. This is going to be shaded. So let's get one in first, actually generally this way. Might have it a bit high. It's darker here, not as dark as this, but darker to there. And then with the top lip, you generally have this highlight. Can you see the highlight? So where the lip curves. So we can use our finger to get something in, and then if you're doing it in pencil or paint, you can actually just take the highlight out rather than, or you can just kind of shade it in. Just put this back in, and then I'm squinting my eyes. It's a lot darker under here, under the nose. I'm shading that in, and it's kind of a puzzle game in that you constantly have to squint your eyes and look from one bit to another. So there is generally a highlight here, so when you're happy with where the chin is, again this is curved, so we don't actually technically, if we're doing, I mean there's so many different types of art and portraits, but the one that I'm showing you, there isn't like a hard line, it's a shadowed line, and then you have shadow underneath the neck where the light can't get to. So we have this kind of section, so there's shadow down that side, shadow that side, and just shadow down the front of the neck. And then she's going to have her hair really dark. Okay, so we haven't got, we need to go darker. She's got beautiful skin. So then I'm just playing a game. So I'm squinting with my eyes. this is not dark enough. It's slightly lighter on this edge. This has got a curve that comes round. Now, if this was our bottom shadow, we have another line here that comes up. This shadow comes down here. Now, there is always, I was talking about that center line, there is always a shadow here where that lip curves that way. And there's generally kind of lines. And the shadow generally comes that way. And then there's always this bit here. I always like this bit, I don't know why. There's always a highlight here when we have this dark enough. There's always a highlight that comes on the edge of the corner of the mouth. Okay, let's go back up here. Okay. So now I would just keep playing a game. I've basically shown you how to get everything in the right place and how we shade. In the eyes, let's just talk about the eyes before you go. They're never white, there would always be shadow. So there's a shadow here and there's a shadow generally at the top where the eyelid is hanging over and in the corners. And so this needs, I'm looking, there's my highlights there. As we talked about eyelashes last week, I keep my pencil on, I'm holding the edge bit and I'm actually pushing and pulling as I go round. Might be a little bit too curved there. This is where you spend ages fiddling. Portraits are fun like this, watching telly. You can just sit, listen to the telly. We need to leave that highlight. This is darker on this side. This is all darker. Can you see on the shape? So we'll have the highlight here, the shadow, and there. Do we think that's, I think that goes like that, and then this is wider. Wasn't sitting comfortably. You always have this shadow, then there's a lighter shadow, and then generally there is a highlight above the eye here, like this. It's now a case of just keep going. Everything is in the right place. It now just needs more and more shading, and it will look differently as well when you have this dark hair in the background. Oh, and also the keystone, that's always, this bit here is always darker as well. Okay, so we're not there yet, but I hope that this has given you a start. So now what I'm doing is I'm literally playing spot the difference. So first of all, I'm looking at this eyebrow, thinking this needs to go darker. Still looking, I'm all the time looking at the shape. Okay, now shading here, this is light, it is light here. If it's gone, always take that light out before you put the eyelashes on. We are shading around here, shading around here. We're shading here, maybe not as dark as that. There's a lovely highlight under the eye. I always take it out and then I can always put the other bits around it. And then we have the inside of the eye on this side. with shadow here. And then there's a strong dark for her eyelashes. Kind of triangle shape there. Can you see that? Okay. Probably a little bit dark. I'm just going to take a little bit of that out. And then we're coming here, and then this pencil marks are going in that direction. These ones will be going in that direction. Just getting rid of, that was one of our working lines. So we still need to go darker. Darker, darker in this corner. Use my finger. There is a darker shadow here. There. Maybe a few more kind of hairs there. Now she has lovely pigment around here. So this is light. This is dark. Around here, and it comes to kind of this shape around there. So even darker, comes round to join here. Sometimes hard when you've got textured paper. It's going to take those. So you often have to keep taking highlights out because our hands kind of smudge it. So I'm just going to try and get her eye a little bit darker by putting more pencil on. If you've got a higher B pencil, I'm going to put some of these eyelashes back in. Pressing a little bit harder, keeping my pencil on. So I think that is a little bit better. Might smudge this underneath, and then again you can always take lines out with your rubber. Still think that's a little bit darker. And then goes to a shape here. Okay, now this is a slightly lighter but not light, and then this is then slightly darker, and then the side of her, we haven't put the ear in, have we? This is the hair, so this is where I definitely go to a bigger B pencil, like an 8B or something, would get it really quickly, but that will start setting the tone of her face. So then you can squint, and then I can see that it's definitely not dark enough. Okay, so you're building up, you're constantly comparing and being a bit tentative. We're coming over here, and it's so interesting because you think you've gone dark enough, but it's quite a fun game to do. Spot the difference. Now, where's her ear? So I look at where her ear is in conjunction with the nose. And then she's got a bit of a round that comes down. This is all really dark, so it shows off her jawbone. A jaw shape. Definitely, if you've got higher pencils, be using them now. Now that also shows us, and it shows it really well on the video screen, how we haven't got this dark enough. she's got a lovely skin tone. And I'm being a bit tentative with it. So now I'm going to go a bit bolder. I've got a weird line there. I'm just going to take that out and put the shading back in. But again, I don't want a hard line. I'm trying to build up. This is where the highlight is. And here. So this is where we can see, have we got the eyebrow out enough? Do I need to bring that highlight? See, I'm looking at my distance from there to there and actually think this hairline needs to come in a little bit more. Whereas the pivot point was by the eye. And this bit here is, I think I'm being affected because this has that hair is going to be there. There's a lovely triangle. Can you see there? So that's affecting my viewpoint on this. So let's get that V in. That hair is going to go that way. And then we've got this lovely shading kind of carries on round in here. So just doing this half tone down to this lovely dark shadow under the cheekbone. That then comes down, so you then get this kind of triangle down to the edge of the jaw, and then that joins that up. Can you see there's a shape here? So you then got these kind of highlights, almost like dimples that come in here. Now I'm blending. Blending isn't always good, but it's looking like she had a hairy beard there, and we don't want that. And then we've got this highlight here. So there is a triangle of shade that comes down here. There's a highlight on the chin. There is a line here. I'm going to just make that bit wider, I think. Then we got this lovely kind of bit of a curve. And then we can take out a little bit. Just made those lips a little bit wider. So now the top lip. So often when you then put another bit in, you can see that the lips aren't dark enough. And we're going to make this top lip a bit darker on this kind of section. This is kind of shaded, and there's often because it's a curved lip, and that comes down, and then we have this line. And then this shadow. underneath. Okay, now we need more shadow there, so you should have, which way's the camera, a dirty finger, and this makes it really useful. So we can put that in and then take out the highlight. This white gap here isn't big enough. I'm just going to take that out of it. So look at that lovely highlight. There's a little bit of a highlight there, and there's a little very subtle kind of highlight there and there. This is, if you take it out and it's too much, you can just soften them. So we still need to go darker here. This I think is a little bit curved, so we can use the background to just make that less kind of Jennifer Aniston nice jawbone. I'm just scribbling this in. So this neck needs to go darker. I'm going to put it in and then go darker. I think because of her skin tone, it's worth getting something on and then kind of adding more or taking out. A little bit of a soften some of those lines. Where's that? That comes in conjunction. There's like often this flat plane at the front of the neck. And then, you know, of course, gonna have all her hair. How are we doing? Is it looking better? Again, we need to go darker. So it's a case of going darker and darker to get the right tones. And that's what drawing is getting the right shapes and then getting the right tones. Corner. Now we are going to pull that over and shade all that in. Now we've got this half tone here. Then I think there's a highlight here, highlight here. So there's move those lines if I can. So I think there's shadow here, a little bit here, highlight here, keystone in, and then this highlight here just above kind of the eyebrow, and then this highlight here, highlight here, highlight under the eye, highlight round the eye. So you might have to pause this video. I'm just doing it quickly because this is a extra freebie for you, but I didn't want to leave it. Highlight here. So you could take a little bit of that out if you want to make that a little bit highlighted. Still need to go a lot darker under here, don't we? Under the lips, under the chin. I was looking to see, I don't have a bigger B pencil with me, or two hand. So this kind of bit comes around. Highlight. So I'm just having a compare, maybe a bit darker here, bit darker here. darker here. She's got such lovely skin. Highlight here, maybe a little bit more here. Squinting my eyes, darker here, darker where this, I never know the name of it. You know that weird bit in between your, oh, something, Cupid's bow, is that it? Just a shape to me, but it's that kind of, so that will have, I think that's mainly on the other side of the picture. And quickly so I'm hoping it's getting a likeness. The key is to not judge it till we, you know, it's that stage of trying to get everything in the right place, but then everything doesn't look right until you get the right tone. So if you've got something that's really dark and when you draw it in and it's white, it never looks right until you get it, because when you shade things in, they look smaller. A bit more of a corner. You're going to be messy. I'm always messy. I had to wipe my, oh no, look, see, I've still got Joseph. That's why I have this room at the bottom of the garden. Stop me wrecking the house. Okay, I think I've given you enough so that you can do the other side. Please, please show me. It's not about doing everything perfect, it's about getting better. And I was talking to my students in my class this morning, and it's practice, practice, practice. It's a bit like learning a language, I think. You know, in lesson 1, no one can really say anything and you learn a few words, and then gradually, the more that you do it, the more fluent you get. I mean, I might look at where I know the eyes are in the centre, so I don't do half of this. Sometimes it confuses my brain when I do like a grid or anything, because I'm so, it becomes more technical, where the more you practice, it just becomes kind of second nature for your brain to just think of these. So I'm looking at that line there with the shading, and then I'm looking at, there's another line, and I think I put too many lines in, so my brain is just continually comparing that shape, that shape, that shape, and the more you do it, I don't think you have to be born with a talent, I just think you have to want to practice and practice and practice. It becomes a bit obsessive till you get really good, just like a language. So this is all dark. Now I'm squinting my eyes, ears too light. We don't really want ears to stand out. They're weird things, aren't they, ears? Now hair is a whole different kettle of fish, so we are not going to do that today, but I wanted you to get something in. Hair is actually about simplifying. Can you see that shape? Okay, I think that is now enough. So it's another 20 minutes. I can't do a portrait to my happy standard with you in half an hour. I needed 50, I think it says. Okay. I'm just going to my eyes and looking. I'm happy with that. Maybe a few lines. Get that dark bit back in. Okay. See, my thing is to just keep it like. Okay. It looks slightly odd because we haven't got all the dark hair in. That was the point I was making about when things are kind of light or dark. It does make a massive difference. But I think her face, I squint and I'm looking from one to the other, could possibly go a bit darker, but you can always then, when you've put in the other half of her face, then kind of add that and make things darker as a whole together. We really don't want single lines in hairs, you want groups of tone again. Okay. She says, then I see in a bit. Portraits you could literally be non-stop. Well, they say painting's never finished. Just gets to a point. I think a resting point they say, but I think it gets to a point where you don't even want to look at it anymore. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I will just keep looking at how things could be darker. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that and that you managed to have some time and to finish it off and watch this second half on YouTube. I will speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.